Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. Today I'm going to be reviewing and demoing for you the MILANI 2-in-1 Conceal Plus Perfect foundation. I bought this foundation at CVS. It's also available at Walgreens and the MILANI website. The size of this foundation is 1 ounce. That's pretty standard. Most foundations like drugstore and high-end are gonna be about an ounce and a half. Drugstore prices kind of vary based on location, but this product should cost you between $9 and $10. With one very thin layer, this foundation is a solid medium coverage. It is buildable to a very full coverage, which I love. The coverage is amazing. I would say this can be used as a concealer. The other thing is the lasting power on this is so impressive. My skin is pretty normal in terms of oil production. I just get a little bit of oil in the T-zone throughout the day. Now this foundation does get pretty shiny on me throughout the day if I don't use a mattifying primer or a powder, which is kind of weird because most foundations that are marketed as hydrating foundations don't get shiny on me throughout the day. But anyway, despite the fact that it does get shiny on me if I don't take the necessary precautions, it doesn't break up on me. Even if I wear no primer or a hydrating primer, no powder, yes powder, like it does not separate. I will work an 8-hour shift on my feet and I will go home with 0 separation on my face. It is absolutely amazing. I am so impressed with the lasting power of this foundation. In terms of staying power, it actually competes with one of my favorite foundations, the Tarte Amazonian Clay 12-hour foundation. It does go on pretty matte, but if getting shiny throughout the day is something that you don't like, that can be easily rectified with a mattifying primer and some powder. So I just want to go through the ingredients real quick. It is water-based. It claims to be oil-free, and that's true. However, it does have a lot of moisturizing ingredients in it. So it's got glycerin. Most foundations and like creams and stuff have glycerin in them, but nonetheless, it is a hydrating ingredient. It does have dimethicone in it, which means it's going to smooth your skin, but dimethicone isn't like the first ingredient in there or anything. So if you are kind of concerned about silicones and stuff like that in your foundation, I wouldn't really worry about that with this one. What's also interesting about this foundation is that it has mica in it, which is weird because it goes on pretty matte. I mean, you can tell right now, like my skin looks pretty matte, but mica is what makes some cosmetics sparkly. So I mean, despite the fact that it's matte, like my skin still looks kind of radiant. And I mean, that's partially because it's a moisturizing foundation, but maybe part of that is the mica because mica is reflective. So anyway, that's kind of cool that it's got that in there. And the other interesting thing is that it has plum extract in there. Not like plum seed oil, but plum fruit extract. And what that does is smooth and moisturize your skin. I was kind of surprised to find a natural moisturizing ingredient in a drugstore foundation, so that's really cool. And then the last thing to note is that it is oil-free. So if you find that oils in makeup tend to make you break out or anything, then I wouldn't worry about that. Although to be honest, I think oil-free is kind of a conspiracy and all marketing, and like what is oil? Is oil just any liquid that floats in water? I don't know. What's an oil? Anyway, it is oil-free, so if you're looking for an oil-free foundation, this is a great one. But despite the fact that it is oil-free, it's not mattifying. Like if you have normal to oily skin, it will get shiny on you throughout the day, as I mentioned before. But I don't think oily and acne-prone people will have a problem with this. Just use some powder if you're oily. Something I have to mention is the color range. They do have a really wide range of shades available, especially for a drugstore foundation. But I do think if you're paler than me or if you're very deep, you will not be able to find a foundation that matches you in this range. I mean, I don't know if you can tell on camera right now, but to be honest, it's too dark for me and I have the lightest shade. I'm using 01 Creamy Vanilla, and it's still a hair too dark and a hair too golden for my skin tone. And I'm pretty pale, but I am by no means the palest of them all. The shades do go pretty deep, but if you have a very deep chocolate skin tone, then you probably won't find a match within this range. And that to me is a little more upsetting than the people on the lighter end of the spectrum missing out, because like within high-end and drugstore foundations, it is so hard for people with a deep skin tone to find a good foundation. So despite the fact that I love this foundation, it kind of sucks because not everybody's going to be able to use it. So I just quickly want to run through the foundation's claims and go over whether it meets those claims. So it says Foundation plus concealer. Yes, I would use it as both. Medium to full coverage, I think that's spot on. I think it goes on pretty medium and can be built up to a very full coverage. And it says lightweight oil-free formula. I mean, despite the fact that it's so thick, it is super lightweight on the skin. Like, it feels really good on my skin. So yeah, I would say that it is pretty lightweight. Long wearing, water resistant, and sweat proof. I would definitely say that's true. I definitely sweat at work and it lasts. So I would have to say that that claim is true. A quick note about the packaging. It says on the website that it has a pump, but that's not true. Let me know in the comments below if you know something that I don't, but it just like has this stick and I just kind of wipe some on the back of my hand. So it's not the most sanitary thing in the world, but hey, neither is a jar of face cream, so whatever. I like that the packaging is glass. Of course, that's gonna be heavier in your suitcase or something, but it feels more luxurious. It's better for the environment than plastic. And yeah, for the price, aside from the fact that there's no dropper or pump, you're getting really nice packaging. And the final point that I want to make about this foundation is that I would apply it with a brush. You'll see in the demo that I apply it with the Real Techniques buffing brush. This is generally my favorite brush for applying full coverage foundation, but the reason why I'm really recommending applying it with a brush and not a sponge or your hands is because of the texture of this foundation. Any foundation that's kind of thick, moussey, like a thicker formula is going to require a brush to blend it out. Do I think this foundation is worth the money and would I recommend it? Hell yes. Like, if you can find a color that matches you, this is my one complaint, that they need to make more colors, but if you can find a good match for you in this foundation, you're paying $10 for pretty good packaging, amazing coverage, amazing lasting power, pretty good ingredients, and honestly something that competes with some of my high-end foundations. Like, I honestly feel amazing and flawless and beautiful with this on my skin right now. So that means it's doing its job. Now I'm going to show you guys how I apply this foundation. So as I mentioned in the review portion, my skin does get super shiny throughout the day when I use this foundation, probably because it has all those moisturizing elements to it. So I'm just going to use a mattifying gel first. I use the Benefit Professional Matte Rescue. It's not cruelty free. Sorry guys, I just don't have like a good cruelty-free mattifying primer that I like. And I'm using about this much. And I'm just going to gently massage that into my face. Obviously, I already have my brows and eyeshadow on. I also have a little bit of peach color corrector underneath my eyes. So the description on the website says it comes with this like easy to use pump. In my humble opinion, this is not a pump. It has like a little open space on the bottom, but am I like missing something? But basically, I just kind of wipe this onto the back of my hand. And I'm gonna use my Real Techniques buffing brush to apply it. I love this brush for full coverage foundation because the bristles are flat and pretty dense, but it has enough give to kind of buff the foundation, as I've mentioned in a past video. So I do dip this directly into the foundation, but I do it really lightly because I don't want the brush to absorb the foundation. And then I'm just going to start on the cheeks towards the center of the face and buff away from the center of the face. So I have a lot of redness and acne scarring at the moment, so you can kind of see that right away this is more of a medium coverage. You can still see some of my redness peeking through, some of my texture, but you can definitely build it up to a full coverage. That little bit that I put on my hand though, that's really all I generally need to use because it is so full coverage once you build it up. And with another layer, my redness is completely gone. And they recommend on the MILANI website to buff away from the center of the face when using this as a foundation, which I definitely agree with. I think that most foundations should be applied that way. And it says to pat wherever you need more coverage when you're using it as a concealer, which is generally what I do with most foundations and concealers anyway. So I do agree with their recommendation for how to apply it. Now, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but this is a shade too dark. So I'm gonna bring it down my neck, which, you know, doesn't really work, but it works well enough. And then just to kind of show you guys how I brighten a foundation when the color isn't really working for me, I use a little bit of a lavender concealer to highlight. This is the NYX HD concealer in the shade CW11 Lavender. I really like this product. It's really lightweight, so it works as a color corrector for me. And I'm just gonna put a little bit. I'm gonna do the triangle highlight down the center of the nose, little bit on the center of the forehead, Cupid's bow, and the center of the chin. And I'm gonna blend that out with the buffing brush again. I'm more patting this time because I don't want to buff away the coverage we just built up with the foundation. And because that foundation is so golden and a little bit too dark, using a really light lavender concealer. Lavender is the opposite of yellow, by the way. Like purple and yellow are across from each other on the color wheel. So by adding a really light lavender, it's gonna brighten and cancel out those gold tones because this foundation is definitely a little too golden for me. And even with a little bit of extra product on the skin there, it still looks really good. I wish it were the right color for me, but I can overlook that because I love the texture of this foundation. And then again, because this foundation makes me a little shiny throughout the day, I'm gonna set it with a powder that I love. This is the Kat Von D Lock-It Powder Foundation in the shade Light 45. And I'm using that on a Real Techniques blush brush. I find that I use a lot of blush brushes as setting brushes. For those of you who aren't so experienced with brushes, just know that that's a coincidence. I don't need more coverage on top of this, so I'm putting like a tiny amount of powder, and I'm using a fluffy brush because a fluffy brush will deposit less. And I'm just patting that on top. This powder is also my color, so it will kind of help to correct the color of the foundation as well. But again, you don't need more coverage after this foundation, so you can just use a translucent powder. And then I'll just show you guys how well cheek products apply on top of this foundation. I'm gonna use the Too Faced Love Flush Blush in the shade Baby Love. This is kind of my favorite blush of all time. See how the blush goes on so smooth, not patchy. I love it. And now I'm just gonna finish off with a little bit of contour and lipstick, and that's it. All right, guys, so that's it for my review and demo of the Milani 2-in-1 Conceal and Perfect Foundation Plus Concealer. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments below, and please let me know what you'd like to see next. Wednesdays and Sundays aren't working out the best for me, so I'm gonna try and upload every Thursday and Monday. Monday and Thursday. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.